had to have her on. So I'm so excited to introduce Courtney today and for her time. So I'm going to go ahead and read her introduction, and then we'll pass the mic over to Courtney. Growing up in the heart with a heart full of style and sass, Courtney Griffin was destined for the world of hospitality. The Austin native graduated from Texas State University, harnessing her gift for gab, eye for detail, and ability to make the impossible possible. Since joining the Whim hospitality family in 2017, she has been the woman behind the proverbial marketing curtain, responsible for all digital and social media, graphic design, and PR for the 500 company. Courtney is responsible for ensuring the integrity of all brands under Whim, which includes Camp Lucy Resort and Tilly's Restaurant. If you haven't been there yet, it's wonderful. She has had a passion for pouring into others and making connections behind the screen on the scene. Whim Hospitality is a full-service event company offering catering, event and tent rentals, and florals. And of course, Camp Lucy is a luxury boutique resort out in Dripping Springs that specializes in weddings and events. So if you haven't been there, you definitely have to go visit because it's breathtaking. So without further ado, Courtney, thank you so much for your time. And I'll go ahead and pass the mic over to you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, we will jump right in this morning. Shout out to my fan club. I see a lot of nice, familiar faces out. So thanks for supporting me all. I'll hop on in here. Let me get my screen shared for you. Okay, so are we good? We're seeing presentation and me still. Everybody good to go? Awesome. So I have to start with my disclaimer. First off, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you guys. I know marketing is always the hot topic. Everybody kind of wants to know what the secret sauce is, right? I hate to break it to you, there is no perfect answer. So if that's what you're coming for today, you're not gonna get that, but I will make sure that you leave with some things that you can implement today into your marketing strategy, whether you're a business of 200 people or if it's just you running the show. I feel that. And so I'm definitely trying to give you some tips that will apply to everyone. So again, super informal. Hop in if you have a question. I can't see the chat now that I'm presenting, but if you guys want to pop in and ask anything, let it rip. Also, on that note, before I even start, I just have to, again, my little blanket statement. Marketing is really hard and there is no perfect way to do it. This is by no means the end all be all answers to things. These are just kind of the things that we've been doing in the past and things that are working for us, and tools that I think can apply to everyone. So give yourself some grace in all of this and keep trekking along, because I feel you, it's a really hard thing to master. With that, I have some of our handles here. Obviously, I'm in the business of social media and interacting, so feel free to tag me in different things. You can tag Whim Hospitality as well. We'll repost and share the love. So let's get started. So I don't know if you read my bio, but I am a meme queen. That is how I live and breathe and get through the day, especially in 2020. I feel like I survived via meme. So this is probably my favorite from the entire pandemic. Some of you might be feeling that way, right? The world kind of feels like it's on fire and you're like, do you need catering for your end of the world party? Like, here I am. So I feel that hopefully we can kind of find some creative ways for you to market to people without feeling like you're this guy. So, okay, 2020, what just happened, right? I'm speaking to a lot of wedding professionals, so I know you know this is no surprise to you what has happened. We have a lot of postponements, some cancellations, people trying to hold their date. I feel like I've seen the full gamut of people that are like, no way am I ever gonna have this wedding. And then there's some brides that are like, what pandemic? What? I'm fine. So, and then even weekly as things are coming out, it's challenging from a marketing standpoint when you're seeing all of this data and things are changing. By the time the data gets out, it feels like it's a whole nother world. So yes, a lot of money lost, spinning down, postponements. I guess you guys can pop in the chat so I can kind of look back later what you're seeing, if you're seeing a lot of people pushing to the new year, or if you had people just kind of push later into this year, or if you had cancellations. I'm always interested kind of just to see the trends that you all are seeing for your businesses. So this is my, my favorite graph. Again, 2020, right? Here is what happened in the world of weddings. And if that doesn't sum it up for you, right? But the good news, y'all, you can kind of see the projections for the years to come. So obviously with a lot of these postponements, these people want to get married. So that's good news for us in the new year. I want to leave you with that sentiment, is that things are looking up. So if you can just hang in there, I really am confident that we're going to see that upturn. So with all this data and things, this is kind of the real stat that I want to share. This is, I think, what the world needs. So everybody has their Spotify Wrapped of how much time they listen to Taylor Swift, but this is the kind of Spotify Wrapped that I want. I would be a little embarrassed, I think, to see how many times I cried this year, but hey, we're hanging in, right? So, okay, all of this to say, what should I be doing? Again, there is no secret sauce, y'all. It's called a marketing mix for a reason. There are a million ways to get to an end goal and a million things that could work or not so much. Sometimes I have a really amazing campaign that I'm so jazzed for and I am all in, and then it flops. And that's okay. That's the game of marketing. You have to be able to do your research, understand what your goals are, and then go for it. Sometimes they fall flat. And then sometimes there are things that you're like, oh, this might be great. And then it takes off. So it's a game of guess and check. And that is the important thing to remember here, is you have to identify what your goals are and then kind of plug and play, see what's working, see what you have your budget for, and see what makes sense for your company and where you're trying to go. So all that to say, you can see this graph here. We have tons of different things, even within digital strategy, right? You can have your kind of more traditional media, your ads and your directories and all of these wedding wires and the knots, and then your social media and your SEO and all of these things. And you're like, oh my gosh, like what do I even pick? And then I had some friends yesterday shared this graphic with me that I think is great. So you're looking at all of these different things. So you're starting with your advertising here. So how do they even know about you? What are the ways that you're putting your brand and your name out there? So that's everything from, a billboard, a print ad, a digital ad, all of these different methods of advertising. How are they even going to hear about you or know that you even exist, that you're still trucking along in 2020? And then we kind of move into that. How can they find you? So once, maybe they've seen you a few times, you're like, oh, I think I've heard of that Whim company. And I've seen their trucks driving and I've seen all these things. How are they going to find you? Or if they don't remember your name, are you being found on Google? How is your SEO? Are you showing up, or are your competitors showing up? And then from there, once they find you, are they trusting you, right? So I'm sure we've all dabbled with Wedding Wire and the Knot and all of these directories in different places. And for a bride, how overwhelming, right? To see 50 caterers all lined up that all have these beautiful pictures and all seem like they're great. So why are they going to pick you? So if I'm looking at a caterer and to me, they look, similar. If I'm seeing somebody that has a 2-star rating and a 5-star rating, guess who I'm going to pick, right? And then we go into social. There's all of that content. Do they like you? Do they stand behind who you are as a business? Do they relate to you? Does your aesthetic match? Are they excited about doing business with you? That's where your social media comes in, and we'll kind of dip into that later, but your brand is everything. Do they want to do business with you? People want to do business with people that they like. That's just the truth of it. And then when we get to your website, that's kind of where you're closing the deal. Are they able to find the information that they came to find? Are they able to easily connect with you? If they spend 5 minutes trying to find a contact or an email, they're out, they're gone. So all of that to say, hopefully not overwhelming, but there are so many different elements that play into this. There's not one certain thing. You know, I have people all the time, Courtney, what should I spend my advertising dollars on? Or Courtney, what's the best thing to do for my company? The long of the short is it's a mix of a lot of things. And so we'll kind of backtrack to how you decide what those things are. So the big thing I always ask, and I'm a big why girl in our company, right? I'm always like, well, what's the why? What are we trying to do? And then from there I can advise. So what do you want them to do? So you have to understand who your client is. So all of their demographics, what is their gender? What is their age? Because of that, that's going to dictate how they want to be served information and how they want to be connected with. You know, I have a lot of our younger couples who reach out via DM and they're like, can I get pricing on Instagram? And I'm like, girl, you think I'm going to pop out a whole proposal via, Instagram DM? That's what they expect, kind of. So it's just knowing who your client is, how they want to connect with you, and then developing your goals backwards. So even within our multiple brands, my goals for our catering and our catering client are totally different even than our rental client. And then we jump into the kind of Camp Lucy side of things and our Camp Lucy brides versus our Camp Lucy hotel clients. And so you have to really understand who it is that you're targeting and what you want them to do. And then you can find clever ways to kind of reverse out. And another meme, as promised, wouldn't leave you hanging. So, okay, where do I even start? We're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know what to do. I'm wearing multiple hats. You're servicing the events. You're trying to pop on social media too. You're doing all of the things. Can anybody relate? I'm sure, I know we're all kind of in that situation sometimes. So my first piece of advice, if you have done nothing else, which I hope you've already done this step, but if not, I feel like it's my due diligence to bring this up. You need to assess what is currently out there. We were in a heck of a year where opinions were very known and tensions were very hot in some cases. And so I had to assess everything we were putting out as a company and make sure, we weren't being tone deaf, that we were not being, we didn't want to be insensitive. All of these things, clever jokes and memes, it's all about timing. You have to stay on top of what's going on in the world because there's nothing worse than being that company that has to retract what they said and apologize for some poorly timed content. So that is my first piece of advice, if anything, is just kind of assess what your website says, what your social media posts are, and just make sure that nothing is insensitive and your understanding of your client too. You have a lot of these brides who rightfully so kind of feel like it's the end of the world, that their wedding has to be postponed or canceled, or they're going through all of this stress. And the last thing you want to do is appear insensitive or like the world is just going on and you're not hearing them. So second is being transparent. I think this year we've seen a huge human element come into businesses. For the first time, I feel like it's okay just to have grace with yourself and to give grace to other people. It's to, we're doing the best we can. We're all in this together. We're here to support you. And so I think the more you can be transparent about what's going on, people respect that. Especially in a year like this year, people understand and they're going to give you grace. So just be transparent in that. Don't try to hide things. Don't try to be shady. Put it all out there. And number three is say it and then show it. I saw this a lot during kind of the initial stages of the pandemic and the transitions is people just didn't know what to expect, right? I mean, we've never been through this. So I remember even when the mask thing happened and I was like, you want me to wear a mask in public? That is social suicide. Like, how embarrassing, right? Couldn't even fathom the thought of like going to the grocery store. I remember sitting in my car, like anxiety, like, oh my gosh. And so now it's like a part of our everyday routine, right? Have a mask for every outfit. So just saying what you're going to do and then showing it. I think a lot of our couples just need to understand what that looks like. What does a buffet, with these precautions look like? Or what does this, what does it look like as a makeup artist to be, masked up and shielded up? And, life is going on and weddings are going on. I think that they just need to be comfortable and understand really what that looks like. Number 4 is building relationships. I will never forget, I had a sales call this summer of, I can't even remember what they were pitching to me. And I think it was like upwards of like $100,000, this software, something insane. And I remember we had just laid off, a large portion of our company. All of us are cleaning hotel rooms, and we are surviving. And this guy has the audacity to come at me and ask me to make a $100,000 spend. I've never even heard of him before. And I responded, I was like, sir, are you watching the news? Like, do you know we're in hospitality? Like, do you think that I'm like, no. So this is not the time to be insensitive. Build those relationships. People might not be ready to make that spin yet, but they're looking. They're seeing what people are doing. They're seeing how people are handling things, how people are treating their clients, how they're able to work with their clients. So this is a time to really build relationships, and I'll kind of dig into that later with some content that you can do. You might not necessarily be closing the deal right now today, but you're prepping yourself and you're building that out for that future client. And then number 5, I always say all roads lead back to your goals. So it's really easy, especially in the world of marketing, to get distracted by shiny new things. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to do that. And we need to go down this avenue. And when you work in a world of dreamers like we do in hospitality, and particularly at Whim Hospitality, that's my favorite thing I love about our ownership is they are dreamers, man. They are ready for the next thing. And so it's incorporating those new things, but also, what are those goals? What is our purpose? And if there are these other ideas that are going to take us away from that, it's not beneficial to the company and it's not beneficial to the budget. So just remembering, what are we doing and what are the strategies and how are we going to get to that main goal that we established for ourselves? So I guess I can pause here. Like I said, I can't see the chat. So if there are any kind of questions or anything popping up, if you guys want to, are we good to go still?
Actually, I have one, Courtney. Can you talk a little bit, about what that looks like on a Whim side? Like, how are you all, I hate using this word. I feel like it's a love-hate relationship with the word pivoting, but what's marketing look like right now for Whim and that brand and the future? I mean, do you see 2021 being a little bit different on your side of things or going back to normal? I mean, can you talk a little bit on that?
Yeah, so I love that. We have kind of a game around here. It's like a buzzword. If you say the P word, then you have to take a shot. But it's still like 10 a.m., so we probably shouldn't do it. Yes, absolutely. So we are in the world of pivoting. Even through the pandemic, we tried things. I think I had a campaign for Camp Lucy staycations, and we were like, we have plenty of toilet paper. Would I have ever thought that as a luxury hotel and venue brand that I would be pushing toilet paper? No. But sometimes, again, it's that human element. You have to understand what's going on. And at some point, you just have to, roll with it. No pun intended, but pun intended. And so, yeah, things will look different. Again, you can't be naive to the fact that your client's behavior is different. 2021 is going to come with a lot of uncertainty. I think it's a lot of wait and see. But on that note, like I said, we are positive. I think in the hospitality realm, it's kind of our job to encourage the continuation of events and to showcase how we can do this safely and how we can bring back this industry. Because I know, like I said, people just are uncertain. So I think as professionals, we can get really creative and come up with ways to get together and to bring back events in a safe way, of course. So did that answer your question?
It does. And you kind of touched on, we had one more, just you had mentioned the trust factor and how we're really, these poor couples are planning through this pandemic and really we're here to guide them on the trust side. So you kind of touched on that, but curious how Whim's doing that as well, or how you'd recommend. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball for this thing. I've given up trying to predict the darn thing, but any suggestions there moving forward? I know brides and couples are very cautious right now.
Right. I think that, again, kind of brings in that human element. I remember, especially in the Austin area, as I felt like our mandates were changing every day. almost. And I was becoming like a lawyer, reading through all of these like mandates and ordinances. And then we have our Hayes County out here where our venue is. And so it's like, who reigns supreme, learning all of these things. And so it's, I mean, as soon as those would come out, we'd get a call from a bride 5 minutes later, like, well, what does that mean for my wedding? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out. So I think it's an element of knowing what you need to do to keep your clients safe. And then, you know, we're all human at the end of this, right? We're working through it together. So I think being transparent in that, and then having blanket policies. You know, you're protecting yourself if you're not having one-offs for this bride, or, oh, well, we'll make an exception for this. We had to make some tough calls, you know, as a company, and this is how we're going to handle every postponement moving forward. And I think once you establish that, it's easier for them to understand, like, this is our policy across the board. And then of course, doing everything we can. We're all in the business of hospitality. We bleed for our clients, right? So it's being supportive and doing everything we can, but then at the end of the day, knowing that we are still a business and we're, you know, have to keep our employees employed. So balancing all of that, but I think transparency and just that human element helps a lot there.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we'll hop back in. So on the note of showing them what's next, obviously we're starting to see that rapid increase of exit phase search queries. So what does school look like post-pandemic? How will shopping look? How will, you know, this is what people are searching for. They want to know what the world is going to look like. Again, kind of going back to that crystal ball thing, we don't know. So it's been a really fun year for marketing trying to project that. But the more you can show what you're doing as a company and how that is looking moving forward and building that confidence, the better you're going to be. So here are some ways you can. So first is that interactive content. So it kind of goes back to the old school earned media versus paid media. Obviously, if you see an ad in a magazine that the business put out versus something, an honest review that somebody gave, what are you going to trust more, right? And so it's that same kind of thing. That user-generated content is huge right now. 76% more trustworthy than that traditional content you're putting out. So this is all of your influencers. These are people who are on property at our hotel when we're able to repost their content. All of these things, the more you can share what people are doing and what they're experiencing, the more trust you're going to build. So then that goes into the kind of the behind the scenes, showing them what we're doing, showing them the things we're doing to make sure everybody's safe, and really just what it looks like, right? I think that was a huge thing we got over the summer was DMs, like how will the venue look? How will seating charts look when we have to be 6 feet apart? And so having those resources to share with your clients and showing them what that will look like is everything. We're moving to virtual tours. We're moving to virtual consultations. I've seen so many creative things, wedding cake tastings via Zoom, and they mail you the box of all the sample cakes. Like, people are genius. And I'm so proud of the industry for getting creative and learning how to keep going. So yeah, just making sure that you're accessible, because there is going to be that transition of people who feel comfortable meeting face to face and then people who don't. And so you have to be respectful of both of those ends of the spectrum. And then voice search. This one blew my mind. Even the stats are changing weekly. By the end of the year, they're expected for 50% of search to be via voice. So that's people talking into their watch, asking Siri, asking Alexa, all of these things. And so you need to make sure that your information is easily read so that when these voice systems are pulling up for your information, you're going to be there first with all the data. And then lastly, customer service. I think this is so overlooked, especially with social media. A lot of companies will hand social media off to an intern or kind of check it every now and then when they have time or remember they need to post. Right now, more than ever, people need information, especially as things are changing so much. I cannot tell you the amount of direct messages I got. Are you guys open? Do I have to wear a mask? What does this look like, et cetera, et cetera. And so you are that first line of customer service. And guess what? If you're not responding, they're moving on to the next one. So just making sure that you're keeping that top of mind, that now more than ever, you have to be there to support and to communicate. And my last kind of big topic here is that you can't stop learning. Especially in the world of marketing, things change daily. I was actually having a conversation with our marketing coordinator this morning, and I'm like, did this change this morning? And she's like, I think so. And so it feels like Instagram's coming out with new stuff every day, and you have to stay in the know or else it's going to pass you by. So making that time to educate yourself, whether it's just on industry trends or different things, you have to stay knowledgeable in order to best reach people. So I put some sources here. These are places that I get a lot of great information from. So you can screenshot this slide, or I can send it out later too. Kind of has names of things that you can use that are free resources. So Sprout Social, Wedding Reports, Brides.com, Planoly, things like that. And then making sure your brand and your online presence, like we touched in the beginning, making sure that you are sensitive to what's happening in the world and that you are responding appropriately. 75% of millennials' purchase decisions are influenced by a brand's social media presence. I would imagine that that is most of your target market. So when they're coming to your Instagram, are you aesthetically pleasing, right? Do they look like they want to do business with you? Do they want to trust you with their florals? If I saw a sketchy Instagram, most likely not. So you have to remember that that's such an important factor about your overall brand, is how you look and making sure that it all is cohesive. Right? I know that you all know of some brands, they could put out an ad and not even have their logo and you would know exactly whose ad it is. That's because their branding is so spot on and so recognizable that it's ingrained in you, and I think that that should be everybody's goal, is to be recognized even if your logo's not on something. So there are some great tools for that too. Planoly is our favorite. My marketing coordinator and myself use that to plan out the grid and make sure everything looks beautiful, that we're timing things out correctly. That's a great free tool. You can have multiple accounts if you have multiple different Instagram accounts. The preview app also kind of does the same thing. It's on your phone for you. And then the Made app is, I think it's like $10. And it helps you to kind of curate your stories in a more beautiful way. And then Canva, lastly, we were kind of chatting about this before the call. Canva is a wonderful tool. It is kind of graphic design on the go is what I like to call it. It's very plug and play and has so many different things that you can use that look super professional and beautiful. You don't have to have the Adobe Photoshop InDesign suite in order to make great graphics. I actually made this whole presentation on Canva just to prove that point. There's so many different things you can do, and it is a free tool. So if you need marketing in a GIF, Canva is a go-to. And then number 3 is knowing what the best practices are. That kind of goes back into that learning. You can do all of the right things, but if you're not doing it in the right way, if you're providing this great content, but nobody's seeing it, it's lost. So data is powerful. Know your analytics, know what your people are doing, know what their behavior is, and then play to that. Sometimes our audience will shift to where they are online at 9 o'clock at night. And so here I am posting on Instagram at 9 o'clock at night because I know that's where it's going to hit them. So there are some tools there as well. Hootsuite, Google Analytics, your app insights, which I'll get into on the next slide, I believe. All free tools and super easy to use. That data is there, so use it to your advantage. And then also getting content from everywhere. I know a lot of you are wearing so many different hats. You're like, I don't have time to sit down and make an Instagram reel or to put out a video or whatever. Rinse and repeat. If you have some really great content that you can use across multiple platforms. I mean, I'm never an advocate for shovelware and dumping the same thing onto multiple sites because different things work for different platforms. But you can use that solid content and then tweak it for different platforms or for a different market. And then if you have sales teams that are out at your events, Instagram has a really great repost feature. And so use the content they're taking. If they're out at an event and they, snap a photo of the setup, use that and repurpose it on your brand's accounts. Also collaborations. I'm really thankful in the Austin market. The wedding industry is amazing. Everybody's so collaborative and supportive of one another. I know some other markets are not that way, but I just encourage you guys to use one another. collaborate on different styled shoots, cross promote, do Instagram takeovers. There's so much opportunity. And on the note of learning, I had this great new hot tip that came in. There's a whole new feature. So if you've learned nothing else in this whole presentation, at least you can walk away with this and feel like you're a social media expert for the next 20 hours until it changes again, right? So Instagram came out with new updates to their Explore page. So everybody wants to know, right? How does Instagram work? How does the algorithm work? How is my content showing up? So these are kind of the ways that the algorithm is using your content to show to different people. So it's their interest, what you're associating with. You'll notice once you start to search a certain type of thing on Instagram, you're going to see more content that's related to it. So my whole feed is like all of this wedding related content, and I'm not engaged or married at all, but I am constantly being fed this because I'm interacting with it from a professional standpoint. Timeliness. It used to be a chronological feed, but now it's when you're posting that does play a factor, and they're going to try to keep feeding you new content as it comes, even though it's not a chronological feed anymore. And then relationships. Instagram's trying to push things to you that they want you to see or think that you want to see. So if your mom's posting something and you interact with your mom a lot, you're going to see her. If you're friends, you'll notice kind of you're seeing those same people. That's why. User frequency. If you're somebody who hops on Instagram once a month, Instagram's going to feed you the content that they think is the most important because they know they only have you for this small time. And so they're going to feed that to you. And then you're following. If you're following 1 million people, again, they're going to prioritize what they think you want to see. And then usage. If you're somebody who's on Instagram all day, every day, they're going to keep finding new things to keep you in that app and to keep you searching and looking. So what all of that means for you and your businesses. Now Instagram has changed their search feature. They're kind of turning into like a little search engine, mini Google, if you will. So in the past, you could only search things by a hashtag or a location or an actual name. So if I searched, Austin weddings, I would only pull up things that were hashtagged with Austin weddings or an account name that was named Austin weddings or etc. But now it can use keywords. So even if you're not tagged or hashtagged or anything, people are able to follow you. So this is such a powerful tool for you all because now people will be able to find you even if you're not necessarily associated with something. So ways to pull your content into that Explore page and get these followers and get these potential clients. Adding locations, letting them know where you're at. If you're in Austin and I'm in an Austin bride, it's going to feed me that because they know that's where I'm looking. Using those hashtags to your advantage. I can go into a whole nother presentation about hashtags and different strategies there, but yes, use them. Understanding your best times to post. I'll show you a little tip there on the next slide. Creating consistent and quality content. I cannot tell you this enough. Invest your time in good content. There are sometimes you just got to whip things together, but making sure you're on brand and that people know what they're going to get every time that they come to your page. There's nothing worse than random things and you're like, ooh, that was weird. Like who posted that? So that quality, consistent content. And then prioritizing video. So that's kind of a rule of thumb across all social media is video is king, and Instagram especially prioritizes people that are using the features that they give you. So use those reels, use the stories, use the polls, use all of these things because Instagram's like, oh, great. They're doing what I want them to do. I'm going to prioritize their content. And optimize your bio with hashtag and keywords. Again, now that this new search tool is here, people would be able to find you. If you say Austin Caterer in your bio, they're able to search you even if you're not hashtagged Austin Caterer or if it's not in your name. And then the most important thing I think is following, engaging with similar brands. So if I'm going and I'm interacting with a bunch of other florists or a bunch of other caterers or just people in that realm, I'm going to show up as relevant to these people who are searching that topic. So don't forget that one, it's huge. So here's a quick little tip, free in your Instagram app. If you have an Instagram business account, you have these analytics at your fingertips. You will go into your profile of your business account and you will click on that insights button. From there, it will give you your gender, your age range, and then even times where your followers are most likely online, where you're seeing that most interaction, where those eyeballs are on your account. So within 5 seconds, you have access to all of these powerful analytics that can help you decide what content is best and at what times. So again, if nothing else, here's a tip you can take away today. And I feel like this is always a question I get. I have to kind of touch on. People are like, what is the deal with blogging? Should, is it important? Do I do it? Yes. If you have the bandwidth, if it makes sense, yes, there's so many reasons that blogging is relevant. It's going to boost your CEO, and you're going to have that link building. If you're linking to other companies and they're linking back to you, that's showing Google that you're relevant and that you're real and you're valuable. It fuels other channels. It's great content. You can share on Instagram. Look, our new blog's up. It's low cost. If you have it built into your website, it's pretty much free. You're going to boost that website traffic, especially for us. We'll link different rental packages, and we're shoving people straight to those channels to add things to their cart. And then it's a great sales resource as well. When we put out new blog content, I'll share it with our sales team and hey, this is a great thing to share with your clients to kind of make that sales touch for the week or the day or whatever. Great content's good for all people, even other vendors. And then it serves as an internal knowledge base. If we have a new hire that comes in, they can kind of get a review of what we are as a company and kind of different resources there as well. So in a very speedy way, yes, blog. And then my kind of final thought here is, I touched on this a little bit, but we are all in this together. I think we are in such a unique situation to be in such an amazing and supportive industry to where we can help each other. I mean, there's enough business for all of us. And in a lot of cases, we are different vendors. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the support of our other NACE partners and different things, and being able to collaborate and talk about what are you seeing? What are creative ways that you're combating this problem? So lean on each other. There's nobody that understands the world of hospitality and the crazy that it is like other people in the industry. So lean on one another and give yourself grace. Have that interaction, comment on each other's posts, like beautiful wedding, what was the inspiration for this, whatever, have that conversation online. Cross promote one another. We partner with different designers and planners and things that have really creative ways to benefit both sides of the party. Collaborations, styled shoots are in. Everybody knows about styled shoots now. Collaborate together and make something really beautiful. And then guest blogging, going back to that blogging, you can have somebody who's an expert in their area guest blog for you. It's a great way to cross promote one another. And then again, that link love. So on the note of collaboration, our handles are over here. If you give us a follow or interact with us or anything like that, I have our social media coordinator, marketing coordinator in the room, and we will follow you guys back and interact with you as well and kind of get that conversation started. Again, my handle is @GriffCourt. If you want to interact with me or DM with me there, I am always around and pretty much always online. But those are kind of my big points. I know it's a lot and there are so many rabbit holes you can go into in the world of marketing, but that's just a good overview and kind of places to start. But with that, does anybody have any specific questions?
We kind of touched on the blogging. We did have kind of a, how relevant is that in 2020 and, beyond SEO. And I'm assuming 2021, will be the same. And then we had another question as far as, can you share one or two of your hot hashtags that you'd recommend for us local, wedding pros?
Hot hashtags. I love that. We should do a whole presentation called hot hashtags. I love it. Yes. So my kind of rule of thumb on hashtags is to find that sweet spot. So always using branded hashtags. So hashtag Whim Hospitality, hashtag Whim Joy are branded hashtags so that people can find your content if they know to look for you. But to reach those people that maybe don't know about you yet, I find that middle ground. So I'm not going to hashtag weddings just because I know that I'm not Beyonce, and the likelihood of my content showing up with a keyword or a hashtag that's so broad like that are very slim. So I would kind of find something that's a little bit more focused, like Austin weddings or hashtag Dripping Springs weddings. And then you don't want to make it too specific, right? You don't want to be like Camp Lucy, Dripping Springs wedding, Austin, hashtag. You know, if it's too specific, nobody's going to be searching for that. And so it doesn't make sense. So that's kind of always my rule of thumb, is to find that middle ground where there's a good audience, but it's not too large that you're going to be missed.
Perfect. Thank you. And can you touch base? I love the rinse and repeat reference, but any tips? I mean, thank goodness for anniversary posts, or I'd just be, dying on content. But any tips, as we're approaching busier times on recycling that content, or any etiquette or rule of thumb that we should be following on that? How often is too often?
It's 2020. There are no rules anymore, right?
True.
My rule of thumb is, in regards to different platforms, Instagram, obviously you don't want to post the same photo that they can scroll a little bit and see that same photo again. I guess what I mean by rinse and repeat more so is I might take a really great photo or have a really great reel for Instagram. I can repurpose that video that we shot and reformat it, obviously, because reels are for Instagram and kind of formatted that way. I can repurpose that content in a way that it suits Facebook, or in a way that it suits LinkedIn, or so rinsing, repeating, or just changing the verbiage, right? If it's something that I built for an Instagram story and I'm like, swipe up to view more, obviously that doesn't make sense on Facebook, right? I'm going to click through to that link to the blog. So just repurposing the content across multiple channels. And then, yes, of course, even the same content. I don't think that there's a specific time frame. I would just use your best judgment. People are smart. They're going to scroll a little bit. So you don't want to have the same thing over and over and over.
Perfect. Thank you. And let's see. Just put in the chat if anyone has any other questions. Courtney, can you talk a little bit about, I know you said that voice search and with such a high percentage, what do you mean by that? As far as, are we talking, is that YouTube? Is that, what do you mean by that?
So I'm talking anytime you are speaking into something for a search purpose. So, hey, Apple Watch, I'm scared my phone's gonna hear me. What's an open tire shop near me? Or hey, Alexa, what are local florists? Or so anything you are not physically going online and searching yourself, you're asking these voice systems for information. They're pulling that information off the website or off of the internet. And so you have to be able to be very clear about what services you provide and have all of that information so that they're easily able to pull you and then serve you to whoever's asking.
Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. All right. Anyone else? Oh, Glenna has one actually. I've heard 3 months is really a good time for repeating posts, ?
Here I can stop my share so I can see you all again. Like I said, it's different for every platform and every company. We kind of rule of thumb, if I can find it in a quick scroll, I won't repost it. There are ways you can be clever about, even if it's the same wedding, it might just be a different angle of a shot. I would definitely not recommend posting the same exact content, especially, too close. And it depends on your frequency. If you're somebody who's posting every day, that 3 months, you might have tons of content in between. And so no biggie. But if you only post, once a month, it's going to be closer by. So I think it's case by case there.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm not seeing anything else. Krista or Alex, anything coming through? Jonathan says, thanks, Courtney.
Jonathan, thank you for being on the call, Jonathan. No, there's nothing else. I don't see anything else in the chat. Let's see here.
Oh, Jonathan wants to know, are y'all on TikTok? Good question.
I'm looking at over at our marketing coordinator now. We've had the conversation so many times, like to TikTok or not to TikTok. Right now, we are currently not on TikTok. We are prioritizing Instagram and Instagram Reels just so that all of our content is in the same place, and we're kind of directing everybody to that same channel. But never say never. We have a lot of really creative people within our company, and so stay tuned.
Yeah, Jonathan said it's swarmed now with brands and boomers.
Isn't that funny?
With that being the case, there's outside of that, there are new, I guess, other new platforms as well. Are there any new platforms that you guys are looking into?
There's something new every day, it feels like. Yes, there are always new things. We kind of go of the mindset, again, about going back to quality content. I don't think it services you to be on every platform ever if you're not able to sustain an on-brand or a consistent posting schedule or content output. Like I said, that was kind of the debate with TikTok is if we bring this on, do we have the bandwidth to really give you great content? If not, let's stick to what we're good at and what we know is working for us. All of that to say, you can't have that mindset and like, well, we're good at Facebook and we're never going to do anything else. Like, you have to adapt to the times, of course. But as far as jumping on the train with every single new platform that comes out, we definitely are strategic and kind of think about it and what makes sense for us before we hop on.
And on that, Jonathan asked about Pinterest too. Does that work pretty well for Whim, I assume? But are you seeing that that's still trending upwards with couples?
Yeah, so brides love them some Pinterest, right? I do not see that dying. We definitely do not tap into Pinterest as much as we could. Just it's a bandwidth thing. Like I said, you have to really pick where you're going to prioritize. We are active on Pinterest. We have posts that kind of serve as more a vision board and help the bride to visualize the different spaces. And then within our floral division, they're very active on Pinterest to be able to kind of brainstorm with the client and figure out, their aesthetic and then go from there. So yes, I recommend Pinterest, especially in the wedding space. It's such a visual game. I definitely recommend that.
And Lisa asked, should you share your positive reviews on Instagram, or do you just save it for your website or Google?
Yes, be your own hype girl for sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you're doing great things, let people know about that. They will find you. They will creep on you. It's 2020. They're going to do their research before they do business with you. So they will see it, but I don't think it hurts, and it's extra content, especially for Instagram stories and different things. Yeah, don't be afraid to give yourself shout outs. You did that work, and that's an honest review. So share that.
Courtney, I have an Instagram question for you. So like you said, it seems like something new is coming out every day. And I finally got into the stories. I feel like I'm consistent on the stories, but now, video and now reel. Do you have any suggestions on resources there for, to go to YouTube and just say, how do I do a good reel, or any resources on how we can learn that and, be confident in that?
Yeah, absolutely. Google is your friend. I will tell you that.
Sure.
I cannot tell you how many things I've Googled, like how to do life. Google is great. Also, on that resource slide that I had in the presentation, kind of the continued education, Sprout Social is a great platform that we actually use, but they have a really great blog that has a lot of information on what new features are and how they work and what that means for you as a business. And Planoly also has a really great blog. There are a lot of different things. A quick Google search will take you to a lot of different resources for people that really break it down.
Perfect. Okay, I'll look back at that. I took a screenshot, so thank you. Let's see. Jonathan just included, Tailwinds. Yeah, a Pinterest app for Tailwinds. Good call. Yeah. Anything you can share if those that don't know about Tailwinds on that?
I actually am not, I've never used it personally. I know it's similar to kind of a Hootsuite situation where you can plan out your content and schedule it, and I think it will auto post for you as well. I have theories about auto posting, which are not backed by data at all. I just have, I feel like things perform better when I manually post them, but the nature of how busy we all are, if that's what it takes to get your content out and make sure that you're consistent, then yes, by all means, we use some different platforms for that as well. So yes, Tailwind's a great resource.
Perfect.
And on something like that, sorry, Kat.
Oh, no, you're good.
I'm assuming that with Whim, well, you being director of brand, you have some type of content calendar that you're working on a month or 2 or 3 months ahead of time. I'm assuming a month. I don't know if it's 2 or 3.
Well, yes, no, what do you mean? We just week every day.
We just
Yes, we do have an extensive content calendar. I have an amazing partner in crime who puts out more content than so I'm like, girl, are you sleeping? Are you well? We have so much content going out the last few months, and yes, it's just amazing. So yes, content calendars are great. I am a big, if you put it to paper and you plan it out, it will happen. That being said, especially in 2020, we've seen, be careful about scheduling too far out. We will definitely kind of bones things out, or areas that we want to hit, like, hey, we want to make sure we have a catering focused post this week, or rentals focused, and kind of map out the bones and then fill in content from there where it makes sense in different campaigns. And so usually it's about a month in advance of the bones and kind of the bigger picture. And then weekly, as the week starts, like, okay, this is the game plan for the week. We're ready, we're live, making sure nothing's conflicting. If there are other things that get pushed to priority, etc.
Great, excellent. That's all I have. Kat, anything else?
I think that's all I'm seeing come through. But Courtney, thank you so much for your time today. And you're just a wealth of knowledge. And I might be calling you for a hashtag presentation, because Lord knows we all need that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it's a crazy world. So yeah, that's my parting knowledge, is just have grace with yourself and have grace with others. It's a game of strategy, and if everybody knew what the right thing to do was, then there would be no need for marketing professionals, right? So yeah, just hang in there. And of course, you can see me on the gram anywhere. I'm pretty much always on. So reach out if you have any specific questions or just want to chat.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. And thank you everyone for this year and joining us. I'm so excited that Courtney was our last meeting of this year. I guess looking ahead, we will have our first in-person happy hour on, Alex, I believe it's the 12th. We're looking at doing it at Doc's Backyard in South Austin. So that'll be, I believe at 6 p.m., but we'll be, I know we're all busy over the next few weeks, just hopefully enjoying family and friends and each other. So we'll get that posted fairly soon, but we hope to see y'all in person into the new year. But thanks again for your support this year. And Courtney, again, so much for your time and your insight.
Absolutely. You guys have happy holidays.
You as well. Bye, everyone.
All right,
Cool.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Oh, sorry.